Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into some seriously fascinating source material. We're impartially unpacking a massive historical hypothesis. What if the Dajjal, the Antichrist figure in Islamic tradition, isn't just some future end-of-days threat? What if instead, we're dealing with an immortal shapeshifter who's literally been hiding in plain sight throughout all of human history? It sounds wild, but just wait until you see the occult parallels between historical deities and modern descriptions of the Antichrist. So, we're going to be following a pretty massive historical roadmap today. We'll look at the immortal shapeshifter, shared traits of ancient gods, the weird mystery of the bees, one-eyed deities of war, modern pacts and black eyes, and then finally, we'll try tracing this whole ancient blueprint. All right, let's jump right into part one, the immortal shapeshifter. To really get our heads around this theory, we have to start with the baseline blueprint, right? How is the Dajjal actually described in ancient Islamic texts, the Hadith? Well, it says he comes to the ruined place and its treasures follow him like swarms of bees. The source material establishes some really specific traits here. We're talking immense magic, controlling the rain and weather, actually reviving the dead, and having this absolute hypnotic command over hidden earthly wealth. Now, here is where it gets really interesting. When you line up these specific characteristics, the magic, the rainmaking, hearing the dead, and notably having predominantly female followers, they identically match the mysterious deities worshipped in ancient secret religions all across the globe. Our source argues this isn't a coincidence. It's the exact same archetype, just wearing different cultural masks. Which brings us perfectly to part two, shared traits of ancient gods. Let's head over to ancient Greece for a second. The source highlights this totally fascinating connection. You've got Dionysus, the god of dark, secret rituals. And then you have Hades, or Pluto, the god of the underworld and, crucially, hidden earthly wealth. But here's the kicker. According to ancient historians cited in our source, these secret cults actually viewed Hades as just the dark, unseen manifestation of Dionysus. They were literally two sides of the exact same secretive, wealthy, and magically powerful coin. Okay, moving on to part three, the mystery of the bees. Do you remember that quote from a few minutes ago, the one about the Dajjal's treasures following him like swarms of bees? Well, the specific Arabic word used there is yasib, meaning male bees. And our source points out this genuinely eerie parallel. Over in the ancient Greek cult of Dionysus, the female priestesses running his secret rituals were quite literally called the sacred bees, or melisae. And if you're wondering just how central this bee symbolism really was, check this out. The Orphic Golden Tablets. These were actually buried with cult members to guide them in the afterlife. They literally read, "I am a bee of Dionysus, emerged from the sacred cave to drink from the spring of inspiration." Identifying as a bee wasn't just a metaphor. It was a core marker of belonging to this elite secret religion. The source suggests this is just way too specific to be a random coincidence. Next up, part four, one-eyed deities of war. These parallels don't just stop in Greece. They jump across entire continents. Looking at Egyptian, Babylonian, and Norse mythology, you start seeing these highly revered deities with absolutely stunning similarities to the Dajjal. Horus uses healing magic and rides a white mount. Nergal controls hidden underworld treasures. Odin revives the dead and controls the weather. But the craziest part? Despite coming from completely different origins, they are all prominently depicted with one missing or deformed eye. And as we know, that is the defining physical characteristic of the Antichrist. Let's actually zero in on Odin for a second. According to the lore, he taught this very specific type of magic called satyr. But the source explains that satyr wasn't your typical casting fireballs kind of magic. It was entirely focused on creating powerful illusions, altering perceptions, and just totally deceiving the mind. And the incredible thing here, deception and illusion is the literal exact translation of the Arabic word Dajjal. So this is where the linguistic connections get truly wild. If Odin is actually connected to this ancient deceptive archetype, could his mythology be borrowed from somewhere else entirely? Like, are Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, actually ancient Babylonian sorcerers? To answer that, the source points to academic research looking at the Old Norse roots of Odin's two ravens, Hugin and Munin. Now, they're popularly known as thought and memory, right? But older linguistic roots suggest they actually mean evil intent and incitement, or division. The source brilliantly mirrors this with Harut and Marut, the ancient Babylonian sorcerers mentioned in the Quran, who specifically taught the magic of division and tearing people apart. It strongly hints that Odin's origins might not be Norse at all, but might actually lie deep in ancient Mesopotamia. Let's bring this closer to home with Part 5, Modern Pacts and Black Eyes. So, how does this ancient blueprint actually manifest today? Well, the source highlights the caduceus. You've definitely seen it. It's that staff intertwined with snakes. It was originally linked to the Sumerian god Tammuz and his snake magic, used as a massive symbol of occult power. Yet, it's everywhere today. Secret societies, certain Christian clergy, European royalty, they've all utilized this exact symbol. Our source asks a really good question here. Why on earth do modern institutions retain the exact symbol of an ancient secret religion? This actually leads us right into the theories of the late conspiracy theorist Sherry Shriner. According to the source, Shriner talked a lot about this modern occult ritual she called soul scalping. Apparently, it involves using snakes or snake venom along with dark incantations to literally bind a person's soul to demonic forces in exchange for earthly power. And the terrifying result of completing this ritual? The physical manifestation of a severely blackened left eye. Schreiner's theory actually attempts to explain that infamous internet mystery you might have heard of, the Black Eye Club. The source points out that for years, highly protected global elites, we're talking politicians, billionaires, royalty, even popes, have repeatedly appeared in public with severe, totally unexplained bruising around their left eyes. Sure, they usually claim it was a minor accident, but the sheer frequency of this happening among the most guarded people on the planet, it definitely fuels the theory of some dark shared ritual. And get this, there's actually a historical precedent for this specific injury. The source mentions a Christian legend from way back in the 6th century about Saint Theophilus, who supposedly made a pact with the devil for power. The story goes that when he repented, the Virgin Mary appeared in a dream to get the contract back, and she violently punched the devil directly in the eye. So we have this centuries-old link between demonic pacts and severe trauma to the eye. But Schreiner's theories ended up taking a very real, very dark turn. In 2017, a follower of hers named Barbara Rogers inexplicably murdered her boyfriend, Stephen Mino, at point-blank range. She claimed he forced her to do it. The weird thing? Schreiner had actually warned Mino beforehand that Rogers was somehow compromised. And then, just months after this bizarre true crime tragedy, Sherry Schreiner herself died under mysterious circumstances. It leaves her followers wondering, did she just get a little too close to a dangerous truth? Which brings us to our final section, Part 6, Tracing the Ancient Blueprint. We have definitely covered a massive amount of ground today, tracking these patterns from ancient Norse and Greek gods all the way to modern internet mysteries and true crime. The source we've been unpacking weaves all of this together to propose one grand unified theory. It suggests that the Dajjal, the Antichrist, isn't just some monster waiting at the end of the world. Instead, he's an active, immortal architect, an entity wearing many masks across time, who has literally planted himself into human culture, mythology, and modern power structures for millennia. We're going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. When you step back and look at the overlapping traits, the shared symbols of snakes and bees, and this recurring archetype of the one-eyed god of wealth and illusion, are these similarities merely a coincidence of human imagination shared across isolated cultures? Or are we looking at the ancient, undeniable footprints of a single, deceptive entity hiding in plain sight? Thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep questioning what you see.